The Lakers Nation Philippines Podcast.
Hey, Lakers Nation Philippines Podcast listener. Thanks for tuning in. I am recording this podcast a little after the Oklahoma City Thunder loss. Shouts to Russell Westbrook for the 20-20 plus game, which is a giant feat, especially for doing it in the modern day when you're a little dude. It's a lot easier, I feel, for someone like Wilt to be that big and giant, though I'm not trying to admonish or marginalize what Wilt accomplished. I'm just giving Russell Westbrook props, especially as he's aging and he has, PG-13 as a teammate. So pretty big feat, pretty remarkable. And also for the Los Angeles community, Nipsey Hussle. Also just for the general entertainment and music community, but definitely heartfelt for Nipsey Hussle getting murdered, passing away, to even become niche on top of niche. There was a giant food writer and critic named Jonathan Gold. I feel like Nipsey Hussle and Jonathan Gold were like parallels for the city of Los Angeles, and let me explain. Everyone knows about Anthony Bourdain, who's, Mr. Culture, Mr. World Traveler. But Jonathan Gold continued to expose the Angelino cuisine through the immigrant eyes, or at least play student to the immigrant eyes. And he is really definitely one of those Angelino sons. He was very proud. He was in Hollywood. He drove a pickup truck for the longest time. And I'm not saying like it's like one of those Ford Raptor pickup trucks, okay? It's just a regular pickup. And he was giant for the Korean community, the Latino community, the Filipinos, and he put everyone's cuisine and culture on the map. Kind of like what the Los Angeles Lakers fandom is comprised of. Nipsey Hussle is really the follow-up to what Snoop is, because Snoop is from Long Beach, and Nipsey Hussle was primarily known for being in the Crenshaw community. And he is a true son to where he embraced all things LA, wasn't a braggart, but was definitely very proud. And I feel like he paralleled Jonathan Gold, where they're not the giants of what they're both known for, but they're definitely loved. And rest in peace, Nipsey. So anyways, now to the Lakers Nation Philippines podcast. That's such a long fucking name. Jesus Christ. And we're not even like officially with Lakers Nation. They just took the name Lakers Nation Philippines. But anyways, so since we last recorded, there's Jeannie Buss, who was talking about fake news in the media, which shows a lot of discombobulation and a lack of connection from the front office itself, meaning Jeannie, Magic, Rob, Rich Paul, the posse with LeBron James. And for Jeannie there's two things about that, right? It's either Jeannie is lying to herself or she's completely unaware about the Anthony Davis trade rumors. And that is actually quite sad, because Jeannie Buss is supposed to be this savior. You're supposed to be your dad's daughter cometh, right? But in this case, it's not. She's definitely disconnected. And there's also news about her wanting to keep Luke Walton. And whenever you have a new regime in a front office and that's not their coach, well, that's a big problem. That's a big problem. Guess what? There's also LeBron James, who may not see him as the coach. Okay, so there's a giant disconnect that we're seeing just in the front office between Jeannie, Rob Pelinka, and Magic Johnson. Okay, so I'm not trying to summate the whole season, but this is since we last talked, which is about a month ago. And I'm setting up this podcast for the live stream where we're going to do our whole kumbaya and talk about it. What I want to do for this podcast is to do it bi-weekly. The first week will be just this regular podcast where I talk to you, and it's on demand and pre-recorded. And the next one is actually going to be the live stream on Facebook. So now I also wanted to state that in regards to leading to the front to free agency, I do not want you to trade the youth. Unless if you sign a whale first or someone decent. But definitely do not trade the youth. Because at this point, if you trade first for Anthony Davis, then you're left with approximately anywhere from 15 to 20 million according to Mark Spears. And you're just essentially going to be trying to fill the bench with one or two seasoned folks. And that's going to be a failure. Okay? So what Magic and Rob Pelinka need to do, by the way, we haven't been blaming Rob Pelinka enough because technically he's the GM. He's the guy who orchestrates a lot of the trades, even though it's all in unison and conversation. But guess what? He's the general manager. And also Rob Pelinka, the issue with him, he doesn't have a good reputation in the league. He's known as this giant asshole. And then if you're a rookie and you're acting like new money, guess what? No one's going to want to trade with you. So I also want to pass the blame to Rob Pelinka. I'll talk a little bit about Magic Johnson, but you know what? Magic Johnson has been the face, but what about the actions that take place behind the scenes? You're the general manager. You're the general manager. It's been said in several shows, both on ESPN, Fox Sports Radio, and local print in Los Angeles, and even here, according to fans, which is a giant mess to look at on blogs and Facebook pages. But, Rob Pelinka deserves as much fire. It's Genie, it's Magic, it's LeBron, and Rob Pelinka. And when I say LeBron meaning he and Rich Paul and that whole giant LeBron clutch entity, that whole entity needs to be under fire. Okay? Now, in regards to signing, this is both a Magic, Rob Pelinka, and now it's LeBron's case. LeBron's got to play recruiter there. But it can't be done to where it's just LeBron only. Because I feel like that in LeBron, people are going to catch his fickleness and go, yo, Kawhi, I want you there. Yo, KD, I want you there. Yo, Kyrie, I want you there. And that's not going to be good either. What needs to happen is it's Magic, it's LeBron, and maybe Genie. Sit the giant free agent down, if it's tier 2 or tier 1. Tier 1 would be classified as the 4 Ks. Kyrie, Clay, Kawhi, Kevin. And then tier 2 is a combination of Boogie, Kemba Walker, Jimmy Butler, Chris Middleton. Oh, it's like 2 Ks. So, albeit a combination of both. But it needs to be both the front office and not just LeBron and not just the front office. Because if it's LeBron only, they're going to catch that fickleness. LeBron's going to try and convince him, and then he's going to get a text, and then he's going to reply back to the text about shooting the next sports documentary on Showtime. Or he's going to get a text, and hey, we're in production for Uninterrupted, your podcast network. Or, by the way, your show on HBO, the location scout is having issues. So it just can't be LeBron. But it's got to be both Magic, LeBron, Genie, and possibly Rob Pelinka. If Rob Pelinka is seen as the giant asshole from him being the lead agent for Kobe Bryant, then drop him as far as for the meeting. But it's got to be those 3. Okay? And LeBron, it's time for him to turn up. Now, in regards to Rob and Magic, I spoke a little bit about Rob, but now in regards to Magic, he's been good. He's been 50-50, right? The getting rid of Lou Will for Corey Brewer and getting a couple of picks, and then the D'Angelo Russell swap, those were all needed, okay, because they needed to clear cap space because the game plan is signing 2 players. And D'Angelo Russell, you know what? He's a case of those kids where they needed a new space because they couldn't handle going to the Lakers. I've experienced this in radio. I've seen interns at Power 106. They couldn't handle it because they're at Power 106. This is their dream major market station. This is a big station in LA where hip hop lives. And then they just fuck around. Then they intern again for a smaller station and they perform well. If it's your first time and if you don't bust your ass, that's why I feel like it's good to be gradual, or you have the proper grooming. In D'Angelo's case, between being a snitch, between liking a tweet that didn't like Lonzo Ball, and 3 people, I'm not going to drop their names, that have been interviewed here on this podcast, have mentioned wholeheartedly off mic that D'Angelo was just a giant headache. He feels himself too much. Look at all the videos. He feels himself too much. And he was a must let go at that point. It's easy for you guys to cry now because some of you are stupid and you guys want to cry about D'Angelo Russell now with this situation. But with the game plan of creating cap space for 2 giant all-time all-star players, that's what was needed to be done. Now, I love spilled milk conversation in the spirit of fun. Like, imagine that if we had D'Angelo Russell, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma. We probably wouldn't have Josh Hart and Thomas Bryant anyways, because that's part of the 2 first rounders that were given. I love that in good spirit, but man, going to all these Facebook pages with sports, just one dumbass after another. It's ridiculous. So with Magic, outside looking in, Magic is like braggadocious about Paul George, wink, wink, wink. Oh, now we're back. And the next year we'll be back. And then Lonzo Ball, his jersey is going to be retired up there in the rafters. And you know what? That's stupid. That's like acting like this giant braggadocio. Hey, it's your first year or year and a half. And that, granted, that's Magic's personality, but that's terrible. Other people are going to look at you. Wait, you got 2-3 second pick on the first round, and you're going to act like a braggart? And then you're going to leak all this information about we're going to sign LeBron James and Paul George, and then we could trade the youth for Kawhi Leonard. Look how dumb you look. And then you should have learned from Jim Buss, where he goes, well, I have a 3 to 5 year window, and if I don't win a championship within 3 to 5 years, guess what? I'm gone. So this is the offseason where Magic will earn his money. And he's going to have to recoup from all his braggart type mentions in the media. So yes, Magic does deserve criticism. Okay? And fire them. If they don't make things happen, fire them. Also, what happened in the news was Big Baller Brandon Lonzo with the breakup, and apparently it's all 3 brothers that are doing this both business and mental breakup from LeVar Ball. I'm sad, especially coming from a post-Spice Trade Filipino culture. I'm going through that with my brother. Long story short, my dad got sick. My brother never helped. He passed. My brother never helped. I had to handle the extrajudicial process here in Manila, Philippines, which is why I'm here. My mom broke her femur. Did not offer any help. She had macular degeneration. Did not offer any help. This has happened since July of 2015. And I've been averaging 9.5 months of living in Manila versus the U.S. Okay? It's a sad thing. It's a sad thing. And to tie back and circle back to my point about not being able to handle such a big major market, that's LeVar Ball running his mouth off. Running his mouth off. Just talking about his sons. Lonzo's better than LeBron. My goal is to have all three kids play for the Lakers. That's not going to happen anymore. Not that it ever was, but kind of like in the same spirit of Magic, right? A lot more boisterous. Don't clap back yet. LeVar Ball is a lot more boisterous. He's ridiculous. He hasn't done anything for the Lakers. But Lonzo, good for him for breaking that up. Good for him for swimming into his own identity, where his father's acting like a shark. And done with that, because that's a textbook helicopter dad, soccer dad meets parent raising my son to be a professional athlete. Which, by the way, the younger one is LaMelo. I think he has an opportunity to make it to the league. LiAngelo, no. He might as well be an assistant manager for, like, I don't know, Whole Foods, and just be humble. I don't know. But for me, Lonzo Ball, I used to think that he's going to be injury prone. But just like Brandon Ingram, this is what I said a few podcasts ago. The first 2 years, Brandon Ingram got hurt. The first 2 years, it took Brandon Ingram till January, February to warm up. It's the exact same pattern. Brandon Ingram has the potential to be DeMar DeRozan, I feel. Mid-range, drive to the basket. Really dope player, though. Really dope player. Kyle Kuzma, we're going to see his ceiling pretty fast, because I do believe he's, 22, 23 already? So unless if he works on defense and improves his shot-making ability percentage-wise, Kyle Kuzma's ceiling is going to be pretty close. With Lonzo Ball, is very similar to Brandon Ingram. I used to call Brandon Ingram Brandon Wiggins. You know, same thing, like tall, athletic, shows flashes, but you're just a C+ player. But no, I eat my words. I think Brandon Ingram is going to be a DeMar DeRozan type. He's going to be pretty dope. Same thing with Lonzo Ball. And in regards to these shoes, I know it's all theory and fan speak, but guess what? I personally feel there is a connection to maybe needing a better secure basketball shoe. Or either that, or I'm just riding the wave of those people put that into theory, because I don't know how good the quality is. Look what happened to Zion, and that's a Nike. But Zion's a giant kid, though. He's 6'9", 270. That'll break a motherfucking shoe for sure. Make it look like Roman sandals. You know? But good for Lonzo Ball. The other thing I wanted to briefly touch on, these are all topics that we're going to cover in the Facebook live stream, which we'll do it either the day of the last game or a little bit after. Just a little bit after. I want to talk about Luke briefly. Luke, has he been given a fair share? No. Terrible lineup, right, of free agents. That money that you spent on JaVale McGee, Lance Stevenson, and Michael Beasley, that all could have gone to, let's say JaVale McGee's money could have gone to Zubats and Thomas Bryant. You keep those two, which, by the way, we already had Thomas Bryant, right? And let's give credit to the beginning of the season, right? Zubats was injured, and it looked like everyone was saying like the game's passed by Zubats. So you sign JaVale McGee. Okay? So that money's gone, but you still have Zubats. You signed Thomas Bryant as a backup 4 and 5 because Mo Wag was injured. Now the Michael Beasley number, that goes to Brook Lopez. Because Brook Lopez would have been perfect with LeBron. So let's say you have Brook Lopez, JaVale McGee, and Zubats. JaVale McGee can only play 15 to 20 minutes. Look at him. His body couldn't take it. He got pneumonia. So now Zubats will fill in as the third center, right? So there goes your money with the bigs. And then for the Rajon Rondo money, you could have split that with like a Wayne Ellington and then utilize Alex Caruso more. And then I'm not close to the idea of signing Rajon Rondo, but you pay him like $4 million. You pay Wayne Ellington $5 million. Now you got a spot up shooter. And then you utilize Alex Caruso, especially during that time when Rajon Rondo broke his hand. So Luke was not given a fair share. The front office did a terrible job. But to prove that Luke Walton should be let go, I have to go back to the previous season. For both seasons, Luke had crazy, stupid, experimental lineups. Terrible rotations. Classic example, the idea of starting Beasley playing a backup center. Kuzma in rotation of playing a backup center. Having a serviceable, hard-trying Alex Caruso as a backup or at least third point guard. He's 6'5". He could even play the backup too. Okay? But cycling back to the previous season, why is it that you have Julius Randle at the 4 and Brook Lopez at the 5 wouldn't work? It's exactly the 4 and 5 that you would want. Julius Randle is the type of guy, okay, let's say he's not a three-point shooter, but you give him enough space, so you know what he's going to utilize that for? He's going to utilize that to break you off the dribble and then bully his way in. And then Brook Lopez can shoot. He didn't utilize that lineup till a little bit past the season. Why was he benching Julius Randle for so long? There's a lot where coaches don't get along. But you know what? If it's the right player, you play him. Look at Shaq. He had a giant ego. Kobe Bryant, he shunned off substitutions. But they were great players. And how is Julius Randle was asked by Magic Johnson, hey, lose some body fat. Get bigger. Develop. And guess what? They underutilized him the first half of the season. And that's Luke. That's on you, Luke. That's on Luke. And then you can talk about the rotations for this season. You know, I can't knock on the Lakers signing KCP because signing KCP was the bridge for LeBron to get here. Plus also Clutch messed up that 4-year, $80 million contract for Detroit. So guess what? Here's 2 years, $40 million. Oh, 2 years, $30 million. Okay? So I can't knock that signing. But you cannot re-sign KCP unless you sign KCP in a sign and trade. What I mean by that is, let's say we don't trade the farm anymore for AD, right? And again, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, you sign a player first. Then you do this secondary. Just to form like of a sub-super team. Let's say you sign Jimmy Butler and then you still swap for Anthony Davis. Okay? Let's say for some freak reason, DeMarcus Cousins can only get paid $5 million. He decided to go with the Lakers because he's promised like a 2-year contract. He's going to play out his Achilles heel, use another year to get better, and then the final year to sign a bigger contract. And then Jimmy Butler goes, you know what? I'll sign for like $27 million. And then if you want to replicate what an all-star lineup is, then you swap 2 more players or 3 more players with a sign and trade for AD. So in other words, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, and KCP in a sign and trade. You swap for Anthony Davis. Because that 4 players plus 2 picks shit is done. That's done. That's why you guys fired Dell Demps. He's donezo because he should have taken that. But that's the only time I would take KCP. Now also, Rondo and McGee are willing to come back. I'm willing to sign McGee. Absolutely. I'm willing to sign McGee for the veteran minimum. For Rondo, what I'm going to say is a big contradiction. Monetarily, if he's willing to take the league minimum, you should sign him. I'm done with Rondo. You need to clean up as much of the memory of this first year with LeBron. For me, I'm done with Rondo. But with McGee, sure. Why not? You have JaVale McGee, Jonathan Williams, Kyle Kuzma, and Mo Wagner. So I'll take that. But to wrap things up, there was the news about LeBron James and his physical therapist. You could interpret that 2 ways. Either as a back pocket excuse, like with his hand being broken in the finals, or since the therapist posted it, maybe we need to praise LeBron. I'm going to side with LeBron James, and I'm going to give him credit and props. I'm going to give him credit and props because with LeBron James actually playing that out, and guys, I've had 2 shoulder surgeries on my left in Muay Thai due to training in Muay Thai. I've herniated 4 discs in my neck training in jiu-jitsu, tore a hip labrum. That's also jiu-jitsu driven. And right now, in April, I have 3 things going on with my right shoulder, which is an impingement, frozen shoulder, and bursitis. Okay, so I'm a little bit more sympathetic to people who are injured. But these are all topics that we're going to cover and go through when we do a Facebook Live. We're going to have our Kumbaya moment. I'm excited. I want to listen, read, and hear from you guys when we go live stream a little after the final game. That way we can catch up and I get to talk to you. So that's it for this April's podcast, then the live stream. Looking forward to hearing from you guys. Signing off in the interim, it's Charlie from the Lakers Nation Philippines podcast. Thanks.